module by building our menu component. With this, we will be able to navigate through the different pages of our application. Then, we will install React Router, which is a library that helps us manage routes in a comfortable way. We will also use the navlink component for navigation links. Later, we will learn how to configure the routes in a file other than the app component. We will also build almost all of the pages of our application. Then, we will navigate using JavaScript. We will also work with parameters in the URL to read information from it. Finally, we will learn how to work with non-existent routes. We will start this module by building the menu component. Let's now work on the menu component that will allow us to navigate between the different pages of our application. For that, let's go to Visual Studio Code, and in SRC I will right click here, New File, Menu.tsx, and I will minimize this and I will say Export Default Function Menu, Return, and let's create our component. So let's say here nav, and in here we are going to say class name, navbar, navbar expand, lg navbar light, and bg light. Inside of that, we're going to create a div, and we're going to say class name container fluid, and inside of that div, we're going to create an anchor, and we're going to say class name navbar brand href slash, and we're going to say here the name of our application, which is React Movies. This is the title of our application. After that, we're going to create another div, class name collapse navbar collapse, and inside that we're going to put an unordered list, class name navbar nav me auto mb2 mblg0, and inside of that we're going to create a list item, class name nav item, and inside of it we're finally going to put a link, which is going to be for our first page that we're going to create, which will be a page related to genres. Remember that we're creating an application that is a movie catalog, so we're going to have a page for creating movies genres like drama, action, comedy, and so on. So let me say here class name navlink href genres, and that should be it. This should be a simple menu component that will have the title of our page and also the genres page. So let me put that component into my app component. So let's come here to the Explorer and let's go to app.tsx, and in here we are going to come down here, and what we need to do is to put the menu here above the container, but this means that we need to put a fragment here to wrap everything in it. So let's do that. Let me organize this, and now let me come here and say menu for the menu component, and as you can see we automatically imported the menu component from menu. Now we can save and we can go to Google Chrome, and as you can see we have in theaters here and upcoming releases, but above them we have React Movies and genres. And if I click on genres, you are going to see that, okay, we are here in genres. In the URL we got genres, but we are still in the same app component with the same movies. Why is that? That is because we haven't configured routing in our application. But before we do that, let me come back here, and I want to create that component that I want to display when the user goes to /genres. So let's come here and let me create a new folder in SRC. We are going to call it genres, and in here we're going to create a new file which is going to be called indexgenres.tsx. This component will display a list of the existing genres in our database. We're not going to be working with databases in this module, but I want to have this component ready so that we can test routing with it. So let me say export default function index genres, and in here we're going to say return, and I will just have a fragment here and also an h3 index genres, or just genres. Genres is enough. So we have this component, which is the one that we want to show when the user goes to /genres. So let's see how to do that. In this video, we are going to configure routing in our React application. The idea is the following. We have this menu component up here, and we have two links in it. The React Movies link that should take me to the root of our application, and the genres link that should take us to the genres component. But this is not working. As you can see, I am in genres and still I am being displayed this list of movies that we have here, which comes from the root of our application. So how do we configure routing in React? There are several ways of doing that. One of them is by using React Router. React Router is a library that will make it easy for us to configure routing in our application. So let's do that. Let me come to Visual Studio Code and I want to open a terminal, so new terminal, and in here I will install the React Router package. So let me say npm install React Router DOM at 5.2. I will use version 5.2 for this course. Now let me install that, and now this is installed. Now, since we are using TypeScript, we need to install the typing of React Router DOM. So for that, let me say npm install safe dev at types / React Router DOM. And let me press enter. And that's it. Now we're ready to work with routing in our application. Now let me close the console and let's go to the app component and let's get to work. What I want to do is to here use a component that comes from React Router, which is called browser router. And I will wrap everything that we have here in our browser router. We can even remove our fragments because we don't need them anymore. Let me organize this. And now inside of the browser router, we can use a mechanism called switch, and that will allow us to display something on the screen depending on what's on the browser's URL. Let's see that. Let me come here inside of this div, and in here I will say switch, and then let me wrap everything that we have here inside of that switch, and let me organize this. Now notice something. Notice that I am leaving outside of the switch the menu and the container. Why is that? Well, because the menu is a component that I want it to be displayed on every single screen of my application. It doesn't matter if we are watching a list of movies or a list of genres or a list of users. I want to have the menu as a component that will be visible in any screen. That is why I am putting it out. I am leaving it out of the switch component. Same goes for this container. Remember that the container allows me to have some margins in my web page. So I want those margins to be present in every single screen. That is why I am putting the switch inside of the div. In that way, the only thing that will change when the user changes the URL will be whatever is inside the switch component. And what do we want to put in here? In here, we want to use routes. Route is a component. So let me say route, and let me close this. And in here, I can put what I want to appear on the screen depending on what's on the address bar. For example, I can say exact path / This is for the root. We have to use exact so that this will only apply to when the path is mydomain.com without anything after that. Another route which we can use is for the index genres component. Let's do that. Let me come here and say route, and let me define the path of that route, which, if you remember, if we come here, it is genres. We need to repeat this value here in the path. We have to say here genres. And now here I can put my component index genres, so index genres, and let me import index genres here. Let me say import index genres from genres index genres. And that's actually it. With this, we're good to go. Let me press Ctrl S to save my project, and let me come back to Google Chrome. And as you can see, we already got genres here. Remember that genres is what we are displaying here. Let me make a test. Let's say test here, save. And as you can see, we have test here, which means that indeed it is the index genres what we're showing here. And not only that, I can go back to our root page and it shows the list of movies, though there is a small problem, which is that if I click on genres, you can see that we're doing a full refresh on our application, which is not right because this is supposed to be an SPA or single page application, and when we navigate from one page to another, I don't want to refresh the whole website. I only want to change what's being displayed on a screen. We can fix that by using navlink. Let's do that. Let's come here, let's go to the menu component, and instead of using anchors, we have to use navlink. So let me say here navlink, and let me copy this and paste it here, and instead of href I have to say to, and of course I need to import navlink. So let me click on here, Ctrl dot to import navlink from React Router DOM. And let me do the same for this anchor that we have here, navlink here, and change this to 2, and that's it. Now I can save, and let me go back here and I will refresh just in case. Now if I go to React Movies, you can see that I can navigate through how my application without issuing a full refresh. And you can tell this because the fav icon is not reacting in any way. Before, when we were doing a full refresh, the fav icon was moving in the same way that it just did when I refreshed the application. Now, this is all cool, so we are moving forward, but I don't like this. I don't like to have all of the routes of my application in the app component, because if we have, let's say, 100 components, then this app component becomes unmanageable. So what can we do about that? Let's see that. Perhaps some people won't like to have all of these routes defined in the app component. One solution to that is to create a file which will contain all of this routing configuration, and then from the app component we can reference that file. So let's do that. Let me come here to the Explorer, right click on src, new file. I'll call it routeconfig.ts, not tsx but ts, because this is not a component. And in here I will say const routes equal to an array of routes, semicolon here, export default routes. So what are we going to do here? Here we are going to define several objects which will represent the routes of our application. For example, I can say path/genres component, and here I can put the index genres component. So index genres, Ctrl dot to import index genres here. Now I can do the same for the component that has the list of movies. So path/ and then component, but what component are we going to use? I cannot use the app component directly. No, I have to put this in its own component. So let's do that. Let me come here, and in movies I will right click here, new file, landing page component, so tsx, and let me export default function landing page return, and let me put a fragment here, and let me paste this, let me cut this from here, and let me paste it here. Let me import movies list. Let me say here import movies list from movies list. Let me also copy and paste these movies that I have here. So let me take all of this logic and let me cut it from here and put it on the landing page, which is where it belongs. And let me control dot here and control dot here to import landing page, and let's also import use effect, and that should be fine here, and that should be fine here also. We only have to say here landing page, and let me import the landing page component. I can just replace this here, and that should be fine. I can remove this and this, and that should be fine. Now let me copy this landing page and let's go to route config, column here, landing page, and let me import landing page. Okay, so this is good. This looks good. This is the configuration abbreviated into an array of objects. Now I need to translate this into this thing that we have here. So as you can see, we have two routes, right? And I want to generate a route component for each route that I have in this array. What do we have to do for that? Well, we have to do a transformation to transform this to this. And how do we do that? Well, by using the map function. So let me remove this from here, and in here I will use an expression, and let me say here I want to import routes from route config. So let's say here import routes from route config, and now let's come here and let's say routes dot map route, and we're going to generate a route from the route component. Now let me put this in another line so that you can visualize better what I am doing. So here I have to put a key because we need to help React with that. So let me say route path, which is unique per route. After the key, we're going to put the path. So let's say route.path. And finally, something else that we had was the exact attribute for the route that corresponds to the landing page component. So I need to include that configuration here in my route config. Here I have to say exact equal to true. And now that I have this information, I can use it. I can come here and I can say exact equal to route exact. And then how do we render the component? Well, that's the magic. Here I have to say route.component and close it like this. And look how with a single map function, I am generating all of the routes of my application. This is actually it. We are done. We can Ctrl-K-S to save everything. And let me delete this by the way, and this also from here. Let me save one more time. And let's go back to Google Chrome. I will refresh. And now if I go to genres, you can see that it is still working. And if I go to React Movies, you can see that again, we have the landing page component being displayed, which means that now we have centralized the configuration of our routing here in this route array. And not only that, in the future, we are going to add some mechanisms so that only admin users will be able, for example, to enter to this component, and we're going to add here a configuration that will say something like is admin equal to true, and therefore only admins will be able to access this component, and we will be able to configure that from here, from this simple array of objects. So as you can see, React is very powerful because it allows itself to be used in whatever way we want. So let's continue with the development of our project. Let's now create some of the screens which we're going to use in our application. So we already have index genres for listing genres. Now what we want to do is to create a component for creating genres and another component for editing genres. So let's go to the Explorer and let me minimize this, and in genres I will right click, new file, create genre.tsx, and let me create this component, export default function, create genre, and return. Let me put a fragment here, and in here I will say a3 create genre, and below this I will create a link. With a link I can have something like an anchor, but that works using the React Router DOM. Now this is different than navlink, which we saw in the menu component, because navlink has that property that it applies a CSS class when we are in that route. Let's see that. Let me comment this out. Let me just comment this out for a moment. Let me save and let's come to Google Chrome and let me refresh and let's see something. Let's see how genres is colored. Now let me go to genres, and as you can see, genres has a different color. So if I go out of genres, then it is grayed out. So that is what navlink is doing. But we don't want that for this link, so we're going to use the link component and not the navlink component. So let me say here 2, and let me put here genres create genre, and we're making a small mistake. This link should be in index genres because this is the link that will take me to create genre. So let me control dot here to import link, and we're good to go here. Let me say here also class name bottom primary to have some styling. Now let me cut this from here because we don't need it. And now what we're going to do is that I am going to create a edit genre component. So let me go to the Explorer, genres, new file, edit genre.tsx. This one is going to have the exact same code as this one, at least for now. So let me just paste it here and let me say edit genre, and here edit genre, and that should be good enough. Now let me go to route config so I can configure their routes. So let me clone this twice, and here we will have genres create, and here I will put create genre, and let me import create genre. So let me clone this line, copy this, paste it here and here, and that is good. Now let's do the same for edit genre. Let me say here edit genre, and let me clone this, copy this, paste it here and here, and now we have here all of the components that we wanted to import. Now something else that we have to do is to come here and say exact equal to true, because this way now we're only going to be accessing this genres route when /genres is what's in the URLs bar. So let me Control S and let's come back to Google Chrome. I will refresh. Let me go to genres, create genre, and as you can see we are in create genre. And not only that, if I go to edit, you are going to see that we have edit genre. So this is working. Now let's work with the other pages of our application. We need to be able to work with actors, movie theaters, and movies. So let's get to work. Let's go to the Explorer, minimize genres, let's work with new folder, actors, and I will do the exact same thing that I did with genres. I want 3 components: index actors, create actor, and edit actor. So let me say here new file, index actors.tsx, and in here what I will do is that I will just copy this implementation from index genres and paste it here and just adapt it. So index actors, this should be actors and create actor, and also actors here. Now let me save. Let's do the same for create genre. So new file, create actor, I should have said create actor, not create genre. Now let me go to create genre, copy this, paste it here, and create actor here, and create actor here. And let's do the same for edit actor. So I will just copy this ahead of time, and let's create the final component, edit actor tsx, paste, edit actor, and edit actor. And now let's go to route config, and let me clone these 3 lines and paste them here. And let's say here actors, and actors create and actors edit, and also index actors, create actor, and edit actor. And let me import those 3 components. So let me clone this from here, and let's say here index actors, actors, index actors, create actor, actors, and create actor, and finally edit actor, actors, and edit actor. And we are good to go here. Now let's do the same for movie theaters. So let me save here. I will close index actor, create actor, and edit actor just to have some space, and also landing page, app, and we're going to leave menu open because we're going to use it in a few minutes. So let's work with movie theaters. Let me right click here, new folder, movie theaters, enter, right click here, new file, index movie theaters.tsx, and let me clone this from here and paste it here, and let me say here index movie theaters. Let me minimize this. Let me say here movie theaters, create movie theater, and movie theaters here. So this is fine. Now let me create a new component for creating movie theaters. So new file, create movie theater.tsx, and let me copy from create genre, paste, and create movie theater, create movie theater. And finally, let's do the same for editing. Copy this, and let me come here to movie theaters, new file, edit movie theater.tsx, paste, and in here we're going to say edit movie theater. All of these components that we're creating, we're going to work on them throughout the rest of the course. We will have forms for each of them. We will be able to create records in the database through those forms, and so on. So let me say here movie theater, and let me go back to route config, and in here I will copy these 3 lines, and I will repeat the same process. I will say movie theaters, and also I'll copy this and paste it here, and here I will say, let me go up here and copy this and paste it here, and in here I will say movie theaters, index movie theaters, and movie theaters here, actually index movie theaters, and let me copy this and paste it here, and this is good. Now let me do the same for this and this. Now let me say here create movie theater, and also edit movie theater, and let's do the same here. Let me copy this and paste it here, and do the same for this one, and now copy this, and let's go to create, and let's go to edit also. Now for movies, we're going to work with a movie entity. So let me close this, close create movie theater, and edit movie theater, and let's go to the movies folder, and in here I will create a new component, so new file, and I will say create movie.tsx, and we're going to do the exact same thing, copy and paste, and here create movie here, save, and now let's do the same for edit movie.tsx, and let me copy this and paste it here, edit movie, and edit movie. Save. And finally, right click on movies, new file. We're going to create a filter movies component, which will allow us to learn how to work with filters both in React and also with Entity Framework in the future. So let me say export default function filter movies return h3 filter movies. Okay, so we are almost done. We only need to clone these 3 lines one more time and paste them here. Just that here we're not going to have the exact, we can delete this, we will have movies / create, movies / edit, and movies / filter. And now let me import those 3 components. Let me come here and let me paste this here and let me say create movie. For the create movie component, movies create movie. Let me say here edit movie and also filter movie. This should be movies, and then edit movie, and finally filter movies. And here should be movies, of course, and the same for here. We're almost done. Create movie should come here, edit movie should come here, and filter movies should come here. Now all that we need to do is to go to the menu component and add those nav links. So let me clone this and let me paste it here. One for filter movies, one for actors, one for movie theaters, and one for create movies. So here I will say filter movies, here I will say actors, here I will say movie theaters, and here I will say create a movie, and here I will say movies / filter, then actors, and then movie theaters, and finally I will say here movies / create. Hopefully that should be everything. So let's make a test. Let's come here, let me refresh, and let's go to genres. In genres I can go to create genre. In filters I can go to filter movies. In actors I can go to actors and create actors. In movie theaters I can go to movie theaters and create movie theater. And in create movie I can go to create movie. So we are good to go. Again, as I said, in the rest of the course we are going to be working with each of these screens that we just created. In this video, we are going to learn how to navigate using JavaScript code. In the past, we have used the nav link and link components in order to help our users to navigate. But a third way which we can use is using logic to help the user navigate. For example, let's go to genres and let's go to create genre. Here we have a component which in the future will allow us to create a genre in a database, right? Now, after the genre is created, I want to redirect the user back to the genres component. So how can we do that? How can I click a button, do some action like saving something in a database, and then help the user navigate to another component? For that we need to use a React hook called useHistory, which comes from the React Router library that we installed. So let's do that. Let me come to Visual Studio Code and I will close everything because we have too many things open. So close others, and let me Control P. Let me go to create genre, and in here we are going to create a button which we are going to pretend is the button that will help us create genres. So let me say here button. Remember that we have our button component, and in here I will say save changes, and I want to use an onClick event handler on this button component, but we don't have an onClick prop here defined or an onClick parameter. So let's just do that. Let me say here onClick parentheses void, and that's it. Now I can say here, let me put this in another line, I can say here onClick equal to onClick, and of course as always we have to say props onClick. Now with this we're good to go. I can come here and I can say onClick equal to, and I can do an anonymous function here, and in here I can pretend that I am saving in the database. Now after that action I want to redirect the user to the index genres component. So for that, as I just mentioned, I will use a useHistory React hook. So let's do that. I will say here const history equal to useHistory, control dot here to import useHistory, and now here I can say history push, and in here I will say genres. And that's actually it. With this we're good to go. Ctrl K S to save everything. Let's come back to Google Chrome, and I have saved changes here, and if I click on here you are going to see that we are automatically redirected to the genres route. So as you can see, we now know 3 ways of doing navigation with React Router DOM, which are the nav link for the menu, links for the components, and useHistory for when we need to use navigation inside of a function. When we get to work with editing an entity, and by entity I mean genres, actors, movie theaters, and so on, we are going to want to get the ID of the entity that we're editing from the URL. So how do we get a value from the URL? For that we can use route variables or route parameters. For example, here we have genres edit. This is the route that corresponds to the edit genre component, and in here I can say /:ID, and here we are defining the route parameter ID. We do that by saying colon followed by the name of the parameter. Something else that we can do is to say // the plus, which means that this parameter must be a number. So let's test this. Now, how can we access this value from our component? For that we're going to use a React hook called useParams. For example, let's come here to edit genre, and in here I am going to say const id equal to useParams, and here I will say control dot, and I will bring useParams from React Router DOM, and I want to say here any, by the way. Now here we have this ID which we are extracting from whatever object useParams returns us, and this ID coincides with this ID that I have here. And that's it. With this I have access to the route param ID. Let's see that. Let me say here the ID is, and let me use an expression ID, and let me save everything, and let's come back to Google Chrome, and in here I will say edit /15, enter, and here we have the ID is 15, and we can choose something like 39, and we have 39 here. So this is working. And what happens if we put Felipe, for example, enter? We get back nothing. What is going on? And also, let me delete Felipe from here, press enter, and again we get nothing. So again, what is going on? What is happening is that we are getting a 404. This route is not found. So we are going to learn how to work with non-existent route in the next video, but before that let me come back here and let me configure all of these route variables or route parameters in all of the edits routes that we have. So let me copy this and paste it here and here and here, and that should be it. Now I can save, and now let's learn how to work with non-existent routes. we saw that when we get a photo 4 in React, we are only getting a blank page, which is not a good user experience. So what we would like to do is to redirect the user to the root of our application. So how can we do that? Well, for that we have to use a special character here in the path of the route. What we're going to do is that at the end of the routes array, and you have to do this specifically at the end of the route array, because what we're going to put here is a catch-all parameter. This asterisk that we have here is a catch-all, which means that whatever you have in the address bar of the browser is going to be a valid route for this route that we have here, for this path that we have here. So we have to put it at the end so that only if none of the previous routes catch the URL in the address bar, then we want to apply this route. And what do we want to do with this route? We want to be able to redirect the user into this route that we have here. So how can we do that? One way is to create a component that its only job will be to redirect the user to this route. Let's do that. Let me come here. Let me come up here and let me minimize all of this. And let's go to utils, right click, new file, redirect to landing page.tsx. Let me say export default function redirect to landing page, and in here I will just say return redirect, which is a component that comes from React Router DOM to, and then I will say here path name slash, and I will close this here. And that's actually it. Now I can copy this and come here to route config, and in here I will say component redirect to landing page, and I will copy this and I will import that component, import redirect to landing page from utils redirect to landing page. And that's it. Let me say Ctrl+K+S to save everything, and let's come back here and let me refresh and let's go to genres, and as you can see I can still navigate throughout the whole application, but now if I go for example to /Felipe, which doesn't exist, then we are redirected back to the landing page. And if we go to genres, edit, for example 15, we get back here, but if I delete the number here, enter, we get back to the landing page. So indeed we are using this catch-all route here to be able to handle non-existent route scenarios. In this module, we saw what routing is. With this, we can make our single page application look like it has multiple pages, so that the user can feel like they are browsing a normal web page. We use React Router for the browsing experience. It gives us a series of components such as navlink, link, among others, that help us implement navigation. We learn how to read route parameters in our application, and we also learn how to handle routes that are not found to personalize the experience of a photo 4 in our application.